I'm afraid I'm not really sure who's running Venezuela right now. And that's kind of important for us to know because we now have a dog in this fight. Listen, the only reason I say that, it's a couple of reasons. First off, when the vice president was sworn in, I guess, however their former government works down in Venezuela. I don't know if it was by the Supreme Court or by somebody else. I guess she's like the current president or acting president. Her first thing that she did, she came out very defiant, saying that Nicolas Maduro is still the true president and it was barbarian, and they condemned the actions of us going in and snatching them out. But the day before that, or literally hours before that, the president with Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth and Joint Chief of Staff standing behind him said that we're running the country. Now, I ain't crazy, but you know, I run my household, and I'll be damned. Mrs. X or anybody else living in this house came out using that type of language when I run the shit around here. But, you know, within hours, she seemed like she was open to working with the United States. And so it kind of made me think, okay, well, then maybe we are running the country. Okay, makes sense. But literally hours ago, there was a lot of kinetic activity, gunfire near the presidential residence palace in Venezuela. And apparently, so coming from multiple sources, there was gunfire, gunshots. And here's the thing. It seemed to be, at least as it stands right now, whether it was the security forces or if it was the actual military shooting at what could have been an Allied drone. Now, we need more information about that. What the hell does Allied drone mean? Does that mean the Colombian sent the drone in, the Brazilian sent a drone in? Is it the guerrilla warfare or any of the gangs that run any of the stuff that goes on in the woods near the oil fields? Like, whose drone was it? But nonetheless, if you're running some shit, right? We're running it, right? How would we give authorization to the security forces or the military to engage any targets in the sky? Only a few things could be true when you see them shooting at a proposed drone in the air. Number one, it was an Allied drone and they mistakenly shot upon it, which that's weird. Number two, which I think is what they thought it was an American drone and they were shooting at it, which if the Americans are running you, why would you be shooting at it? And this was like tracer rounds, munitions, like some stuff. Or number three, it was just a guerrilla asset that doesn't care that the US is running it and they were shooting. Okay, so one of those has to be true. Which one is it? I don't know. Another thing, right now, reportedly, allegedly, no new American oil companies interested in going in and doing investments in Venezuela as it stands right now. They estimate it could take up to a decade to get the infrastructure back right. President Trump thinks he thinks it could take 18 months. He's also willing to possibly reimburse oil companies if they make the investment, which is a little bit different than what he said the other day when he said that we Americans wouldn't have to pay for anything. But if we're going to be reimbursing for some shit, I mean, that must be our shit, right? It's similar to the reason that American oil companies got booted out of Venezuela in the first place. We made a lot of American oil companies as well as European and Middle Eastern oil companies invested in Venezuela, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, et cetera. And in 1976, the Venezuelans decided they were going to reorganize the way to basically the wealth that was produced from the ground was split between the country and the companies. And two of those companies disagreed with it and they got their ass booted up out the country. And that is when the production of oil in Venezuela became a socialist exercise. It belongs to the country. Icto facto, the infrastructure fell apart because the companies are no longer investing in it. Here we are today in 2026, not as glorious as it was in 1976. So we hear rhetoric from the Secretary of War saying that we get back what's ours. I think he's referring to when we got booted up out of Venezuela, but argued to say, if you got bounced up out of Venezuela, you've already downvoted that in your taxes. You've already recouped that money, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure how that works, but here's my big fear. And I'm gonna do another video on this places that could be next, because ever since this successful mission by Delta Force, and it was so good. I mean, It literally sent chills down my spine to see birds moving low and slow. Those are like target rich assets for any military. And the Venezuelans couldn't do shit to us. Okay, so low and slow, literally over 100 aircrafts, took off from over 22 locations. I mean, it was war porn at its best. My fear is, I don't know what step 2 is. I don't want it to cost us a lot of money. And I really think that if we're going to run the country, because I've heard President Trump say we're running the country. I've heard Senator Marco Rubio says we're running their policy, which, listen, the only way American oil companies would step foot back into revitalize the infrastructure is if they had security guarantees. If you see where those oil fields are located, they are extremely close to ripe targets for jungle warfare. We would have to put American troops on the ground, or we would in essence have to take over the Venezuelan army, because there's just no way to promise security guarantees to any American companies that would decide to go in and do those type of investments. Those companies are disinterested in possibly even doing the reinvestment. According to a professor at Yale Law School, he's already talked to some CEOs who are just, they don't want it to be blood oil. They don't want it to be any other country in the future that can be like, America's your gun, and you're just going to come in and you're going to take over our oil industry. This could be a situation that puts us into a couple of situations. Now, what do I think my prediction is for this? The president says that he is 100% ready and ready to go with a second strike. That it might have to happen because the president doesn't want to look weak. Maduro's vice president was elevated. She's still there. The defense minister is still there. It's still the same military. The security forces, minus all the ones that got killed during the raid, are still there. And the anecdotal evidence of people being happy that Maduro is gone is there. I mean, we have videos from him ordering people being run over by military vehicles in the early aughts and since 2000. It's just craziness. Hugo Chavez before him, they've both been crazy, murderous dictators. But everybody that he appointed underneath him still exists. The Supreme Court was in his bag. I mean, he had them. He had everybody. So to truly run it, it has to be a full ripping out of the spine. In this case, I don't know if you can just cut off the head. And so that is my fear, that we're gonna have to go back in. Now, when I first learned about this, we had a crazy military buildup. Since September 2nd, we did that first strike. 25% of our deployed Navy is in the Caribbean or in the Atlantic. 10% of our Navy overall is down there. Over 2,000 Marines, hundreds of the other combined forces as well, when it's soldiers and airmen, guardians. Plus, we have folks with DHS down there doing law enforcement engagement when it comes to the Coast Guard. We have such a big presence in the area. There's just no way we pluck Maduro, pull chalks, and go home. Something else, especially if we don't believe we're getting the results that we want, is going to pop off. If the American people start to get the perception that we're not truly running it, they're going to wonder, like, why do we go in and pluck them out? And how is this benefiting us? Kind of an America first guy, like I told you guys the other day. And I do think oftentimes, like, how does this action benefit me and Mrs. X, our pockets, our household, or even big pictures, just overall, how does this improve our livelihood? For me, I had selfish reasons behind it, and I still have those reasons. If we are running it, which I don't know if we're doing it the correct way, but it's happening. So I have to think about what that could possibly mean. I might be able to see my father-in-law. My wife can see her father. He lives in Caracas. She has aunts, cousins, second cousins, because they've had kids that she's never met. And we have to right now visit with those folks in Trinidad and Tobago, because getting a visa to come to America from Venezuela is not the easiest thing to do. So selfishly, when I hear we're running that shit, I'm like, hey man, maybe we didn't do it right, but bang bang, we in this thing. But that's very anecdotal. The folks that are watching this video, there's probably not going to be a big number of you that have property in Venezuela, which, you know, our family does, or family in Venezuela, which we do. So the thing you think about is how does this benefit us economically or national security wise? National security wise, I could see having a footprint down there, or a bigger footprint could matter. Arguably, to say we already had a footprint in Colombia. We have troops in South America in different places other than Colombia. We have folks that are obviously in the Dominican Republic and different islands in the region. We own some of the islands, like U.S. Virgin Islands. But having a bigger footprint down there could make a lot of sense. So national security wise, it can make sense. The Western Hemisphere is our backyard. We're big dogs in the backyard. But going about it this way, maybe, I don't know if that's not the way to do it. Now I'm really wondering, how does this shake out? As I'm recording this January 6, 2026, what does this look like in 2 weeks? I really believe we have to go in and either put troops on the ground or get more concessions from the current Maduro leftovers, because this administration is not going to tolerate looking weak. Even if, in my opinion, letting this settle down is not necessarily weakness, some politicians are going to perceive this to be weak. And they ain't gonna be about that. So what do you do when you're not about that life? That weak life. You do things that make you look strong. Some of those things are threaten other countries in the Western Hemisphere, even if those countries are a part of NATO. And that's what we got to do next. But it leads me to believe that the speech that the president gave after we successfully plucked out Maduro was a Stephen Miller special. And based on his comments he gave on CNN and all that good stuff, is I don't know if we fully have vetted out what happens after regime change. And I've seen a lot of people in the comments. I've given the example of Saddam Hussein, 2003. And I've given this Gaddafi in Libya. And people are just like, yeah, this is different. You know, this is going to be great. I mean, maybe. But I think we're 0-2 right now when it comes to yanking folks out. I guess maybe like 1-2. I don't know. How did Panama pan out for us? I guess we do have the Panama Canal. But I am fearful though. Fearful is going to cost more of our treasure. We did take casualties during that extraction, and we didn't lose any service member as in killed in war or killed in action rather. But we did have casualties. The administration is not disclosing what those were, who was hurt, how they were hurt. But reportedly, the Cubans are saying that they lost 32 of the security forces that were protecting down there. Civilians were reportedly killed in the raid as well. So I'm seeing reports of up to 80 people. So if, you know, some people were shooting back like they were shooting at those drones, maybe we did take some casualties. And I fear that it could only get worse. But what do you think? Are we like running the country? Are we just taking out a test run and see what it's like to dip our toe and tanking leaders from other countries, or what? Me personally, I'm kind of agnostic on whether it's allowed and legal. I'm literally not sure. Okay, I've researched this stuff, and in my opinion, some aspects of it, I feel like the administration followed like they were supposed to. Other aspects, I don't know. I just don't know. And that's where Congress got to step up, man, and put their nuts on the table. Because as it stands right now, I feel like the Trump administration is like the 600-pound gorilla when it comes to the three branches of government. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I know what they gonna do. They gonna freaking ball out. But stay tuned, because I also want to talk about our plans for the rest of the Western Hemisphere in a separate video, because we're big dog gotta eat and we just don't want to bark. I don't know. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.